Hi everyone, I am Dr. Vadivel, Dean of ICFI Hyderabad. I have Professor V.P. Rao with me. He is our advisor, and I have Professor Reddy, he is our director. And today we will discuss the educational process of ICFI to all of you, so that it will be beneficial in such that you can decide why do you really join ICFI and continue your education with us. Hello sir, welcome and thanks for joining us. I would like to ask a few questions on behalf of the students, those who are really interested to join ICFI Hyderabad. It's not a question, it's a query. What do you mean by broad-based curriculum followed by ICFI Hyderabad? What are all the components? And why do you say this is a broad-based curriculum?
Thank you, Dr. Vadivel. I think you have asked a very relevant question in terms of how did we organize our own curriculum in terms of broad-based curriculum and how do we define it. Now, as I said, the broad-based curriculum encompasses several disciplines. It's basically also interdisciplinary program. It gives a student a very basic idea of trying to get an exposure to various disciplines while he is specializing in one discipline in his third year. Now, for example, a student goes through courses as follows. There are about 12% basic science courses, and there are 12% engineering science program. There are 12% in technical arts. Technical arts courses include workshop practice, engineering graphics, and then we also have in terms of computational skills 1, computational skills 2. There are 2 courses in that, and also we will have some courses on professional communication as well. These are all the technical arts courses. Now we also have about 11% courses in the humanities electives. Humanities electives are spread over in the 3rd and 4th year. They can do some 4 to 6 courses. Now there is about another category called analysis and application oriented courses like numerical analysis, operation research, optimization, probability statistics. These are all the courses which are analysis and application oriented courses. So there are a few language courses which will also improve the strength of the student in terms of his language, spoken language, as well as if it is as long as not a mother tongue, as an English language courses. And also you can choose some courses on audit basis, some foreign language courses like French, German, and these courses also. Now we try to work out with the English and Foreign Language University to bring teachers of various languages to come and teach in our institute to our students. Now, other than this, we also have a compulsory discipline courses in the 3rd year, which is about 18% of the courses. Entire program will be in the compulsory discipline courses, and we have about 9% courses on the electives, which are the discipline courses other than compulsory. Now, let me mention one point here, that electives we follow a cafeteria approach here. The cafeteria approach is that you can pick and choose any course across the institute which are offered during any semester. We offer almost about more than 100 courses electives in the form of electives in the final year. So they can choose any 6 or 7 out of those 100 electives which are being offered. They can choose ranging from management to economics to electrical engineering to mechanical engineering and computer science. So students can choose any of these courses and plan his career accordingly. This approach helps in terms of 2 things. One is the freedom is given to the student to choose his own electives. Second is he can also make his career out of this selection. This career making is, the career choices are difficult for anybody to choose at any point in time, because the market is so dynamic, they keeps on changing at every time, that these electives also can keep on changing. So depending on the current market needs, student can always plan his career in terms of by selecting his courses through electives. So this is another very important facet of our broad-based curriculum. Another very important facet is that we also believe in autonomous learning, because in this knowledge explosion in the current days through internet and other areas, so therefore student has an exposure to various knowledge areas. So there is, instead of chalk and talk method, we concentrate on basically project-based learning. Now, for example, we have almost 20% of the program is on project based courses. So there are project based courses like special projects corresponding to a discipline. We have technology innovation projects wherein the industry comes to the campus and gives live projects to the students, and with the help of the faculty, the student, they complete the projects. And the third is internship. They have 7.5 months internship zone in the industry. Students will do exactly almost 20% of the program is through project based learning. The basic advantage of project based learning is even the most of the industries also prefer this approach, because the students will have at least gained self confidence in terms of trying to pursue certain goals in the profession. Whenever they go to the industry, either in the form of a job or in terms of a project internship, people can always find it very useful in terms of their self confidence being very great. The companies prefer this kind of an exposure. So in fact, we have about 19 companies coming to the campus in the form of technology innovation projects, and we have almost 40 companies which offer the internship projects to our students. So to that extent, we are very strong in project based learning.
Thanks, Professor Rao. You have elaborated the autonomous learning, and you have given the various components of the broad-based curriculum, such as analysis oriented, internships, and then it was surprised that the internship is being carried out for 7.5 months in the curriculum, and it is almost 20% of the curriculum. Now I would like to ask, you said on the broad-based curriculum, autonomous learning. Now how does it help the student to get a job in the industry, because the industry requires industry-ready personnel from the, say for example, ICFI-Tech. Does our curriculum make our student industry-ready or not?
Yeah, surely. It will definitely help the student to be able to go to the industry, get placed in a good position and all that. Now, let me explain the process. You see, internship is not a practical training. It is not another laboratory course. It is basically training an individual to become a professional. That is the idea in the internship. We don't add any more knowledge in it, because there is already enough knowledge, theoretical knowledge in the classrooms. But when he goes to internship, he is supposed to develop his personality in terms of leadership skills, in terms of team building skills, in terms of interpersonal skills, in terms of meeting the deadlines, various other aspects in terms of personality traits he is supposed to get oriented towards that. Apart from therefore the work which he is doing for the company is supposed to be the vehicle for him to learn all these things, because the faculty also will try to observe him on these aspects while he is working on that project. That project is basically has to be a useful project defined by the company. So at the end of the program, our internship program in the final year, that is 5.5 months, the report that he submits has to be useful to the company concerned. That is one of the specifications we say, because most of our students, their projects which they do in the companies are very useful to the companies. At the end of it, they also give some awards, some rewards for the students, because the project output is being utilized by them. So it adds value, economic value to the company in terms of the project which they do, because he is almost equivalent to an engineering graduate, because he has already done all the theoretical courses at the campus. He is coming there to work only for a project. To that extent, the companies also are happy that they are able to observe him, to take him into employment almost for 6 months before he gets into employment. So there is no obligation for them to give an employment to him, but still they get an opportunity to evaluate an individual human being for almost 5.5 months while he is working on the task given by them. So therefore, most of our internship students get automatically placed by the companies themselves. So almost 70 to 80% of students as of today are being placed by the internship companies in the jobs. The placement is almost become certain at the end of the program. Now, but I would like to emphasize one point here. The point is, we should not misconstrue this as a extra practical training we are giving, therefore to add more knowledge to the student. knowledge already is optimally designed through the courses and has been done in the institute for almost 3.5 years. The last 6 months he has to go and work for the company and also attain the new attributes of individuality or the personality traits as to attribute during period. In fact, in the internship we also give a rating sheet at the end. A faculty member gives a rating sheet. The rating sheet helps him to show to the company in terms of it gives him exactly where he is suitable. Is he suitable for research and development? Is he suitable for a manufacturing concern? Is he suitable for a software writing? Is he suitable for a hardware design? Where is he suitable exactly also is given, rating sheet is given by the, provided by the faculty because he has observed him for 5.5 months along with the company executives. So these kind of reforms we have brought up. In fact, the entire evaluation is continuous in the internship program. There is a continuous evaluation, and therefore there is in the form of quizzes, in the form of seminars, in the form of project reports, intern project reports. A group evaluation is being made by the faculty as well as the company executives. The group evaluation is they always assess him and also average out and give the ultimately grade is given by the faculty. So in that sense, the entire process helps the student to become a leader, to acquire the leadership abilities. The entire process allows him to acquire the ability to work with the teams, and also he becomes a participant in a team building exercise. And also at the end of the thing, he feels proud that he has achieved something through a project work, and that achievement lives with him throughout his life. The other thing is the reverse of that, the internship is the TSC, Technology Innovation Project at the campus, that is in the 3rd year. Now what is it? What is this 3rd year project is all about? We expect some companies to come to the campus, park themselves here, we provide them the space, and also we provide them one of their senior executives will be our adjunct faculty. He will also come and he will have a faculty chamber. He will be given a status of a faculty. He will be there, and their job is to get projects, live projects from their company, and offer it to the students, and with the help of a faculty. Now, this has 2 projects. One is in the 3rd year first semester and 3rd year second semester. There are 2 projects, and these 2 projects supposed to be, that means 1 year of project work he does, 1 full course equivalent to project work in 2 semesters, and plus followed by an internship in the 4th year. The same company might take him also for a 4th year, then also the same company might take him for a job. So in the process today we have companies coming, basically US based companies, Hong Kong based companies, German based companies, they are all giving projects to our students through the internship program. And also some of them even have come to the campus, and they have parked themselves, their local offices have come to the campus and are offering the technology innovation projects as well.
Thank you, Professor Rao. You made it very clear that the internship program is not an extra practical training. It is used for developing a personality trait of the student, and it gives a chance for the student to improve his leadership ability and the interpersonal team playing capability. And you also said that the ICFI Tech students are placed in US based company and Hong Kong based company, and they are doing their internship in those companies, and definitely they will be the industry products. Now I would like to ask another clarification. In Indian context, all the students, parents, and sometimes the grandparents insist on 5 programs in India. The first program is computer science, second program is computer science, third program is computer science, fourth program is also computer science, and fifth program is also computer science. But some of the students get into mechanical engineering or civil engineering, and they want to improve their skills in programming. Say they want to have the flavor of Python, they want to have the flavor of artificial intelligence, and they want to have the flavor of data science. What do you have in ICFI Tech, or what is the program structure you have in ICFI Tech such that a mechanical engineering student or a civil engineering student can really have the flavor of the entire computer science and engineering subjects in terms of electives, in terms of dual degree. What do you have in ICFI Tech?
I think you have asked a very relevant question, which many education institutions are trying to attempt an answer for this. We thought we discovered that an answer, and we have implemented in the program. I will give an example. I'll start with an example to answer your question. The example is one of my old students when I was serving in BITS in late 70s and 80s. Now, he actually got admitted into MSc Economics program. And MSc Economics program, but his actual interest was in physics. He wanted to do physics. But he had an opportunity of doing a dual degree in electronics. That he was a good student. He also took economics seriously, did economics very well, and he did his, while doing economics, he got a dual degree in the second year, that was in electronics. So in the process, what he did, he planned in such a way that some of the courses which are required for doing a physics discipline courses in the third year or fourth year, he cleared those courses by taking an extra load. And that extra load, by taking that extra load, he always tried to go back to the physics courses, and he has been able to take physics discipline courses as electives in the dual degree program. So therefore, what he has done? He has done economics, he has done electronics discipline courses and also physics discipline courses. And internship, he went to a physics oriented organization which is either BARC or NPL. At that time, they had a practice school in Baba Atomic Research Center or the National Physical Laboratory, and various other organizations where he went for. There was a Center for Science for Villages in Wardha. That also there was a conducting a lot of science projects, and he went to one of those organizations with a physics orientation. Then eventually he did his final internship also. He went to one of those physics oriented organizations, National Physical Laboratory or somewhere. As a result, what happened? Though he got admitted into economics originally, he got a dual degree in electronics, he got 2 degrees, plus he also has got enough knowledge in physics. Eventually, ultimately, he went to Caltech in California, he did his PhD in physics. And that's how the entire career can be blended. And there are several examples I can give in this broad-based education, and in terms of proper structuring of education is done. One can try to take several paths. One can plan his career, plan his own ambition to be fulfilled. So that can be done very easily, there is no problem. The only thing is he has to be a very planned person right from the day one, the moment he comes. Therefore, one of the attributes that we teach in our institution is a student is self-reliant, and also he can make his own decisions, and neither he is influenced by his parent or by the teachers, excepting they are only facilitators. They only facilitate in terms of how to make a right decision at right point in time. So these are the things which we help a student to do it.
I have another queries or clarifications with you. What about the number of electives offered at ICFI Tech Hyderabad? How many number of electives are offered, and what is the flexibility of choosing the electives from one discipline to other discipline? Say for example, a mechanical engineer can choose computer science electives and vice versa. Is it possible at ICFI Tech Hyderabad?
Now your specific question in terms of how a mechanical engineering or a civil engineering can take a computer science courses. They have 2 opportunities in our structure. One is the elective route, the other one is the practice, that is the internship route. These 2 routes he can choose. For example, if he carefully plans, he can take all electives in the computer science program. But if there are prerequisites, that's why he has to be carefully planned in terms of the second year itself. He has to be planned. He has to, by the time he completes his second year, he should also ensure by taking extra load or overload 1 or 2 courses which are prerequisites for some of the computer science CDC courses or the discipline courses. Once he completes those prerequisite courses, he can take comfortably as electives in the civil engineering or mechanical engineering computer science courses. There are 7 or 8 or 10 courses in computer science courses, he can do it. Now, then in the electives also he can take in the 4th year. He can also take electives from the computer science area. he does his own discipline courses in civil engineering or mechanical engineering, but he does electives from the computer science courses. So therefore, he these days industry, what it looks for is, it looks for the knowledge base rather than the degree base. For example, Infosys or TCS, really what they want a background, strength in the background, not in terms of a degree, a paper qualification alone. So therefore, the moment he possesses 6 or 7 courses and gets A grades and B grades in those courses, in the computer science courses which he is taking as electives in the final year of civil engineering or mechanical engineering, he is fit for a job in a computer industry. And and also he can take some courses, optional free electives also are there. There are 6 electives he can do, plus 2 more optional free electives also he can do. Optional free electives is the extra thing he can do. Suppose if he is still not happy with the knowledge that he has got, he has to do a few more courses. He can also use the optional free electives. In addition to that, he can also do some courses on audit basis, because his objective is to get, because audit course is also listed in the transcript which he gets finally. The audit course also, but the only thing is letter grades A, B, C, D will not be there. There will be satisfactory, unsatisfactory, but as long as he gets satisfactory grade in the course, that is as good as he has completed a course in that area. So therefore, almost he can do some 6 plus 2 plus 8 plus another 2, 10 courses. 10 courses he can manipulate in such a way, plus the internship, these, which is almost 20 credit, 25 credits plus 30, 55 credits of 170 credits, which is 1/3 almost. 1/3 of the program, he is in his own hands, he can manipulate his own way. He can plan his career, that's what I said earlier. I said, to plan a career to suit him and to plan his ambition, he can exactly use this approach. 1/3 of the program is in his own hands. He can manipulate, he can plan, he can take it, he can do anything that he wants. That is the idea.
Thank you, sir. Again, you made it very clear that a degree is just a paper, and the experience you have at ICFI Tech is very, very important. And you have also highlighted a mechanical or civil engineering student can have all the flavor of computer science through selecting the relatives or going to the internships, which is again the IT and IT enabled service based companies. So this makes that all the students of ICFI Tech will have flavor of all the disciplines, and since you also highlighted that he has to be self-reliant and the parents has to be just facilitator. If someone is like this, his career or his tenure at ICFI Tech is going to be a wonderful one. Now, I would like to again get some kind of clarification for the students. From the beginning, the discussion, the internship is surfacing every time. So I would like to give some throw some light on the IP1, that is internship 1, IP2, the internship 2. Please throw us some light so that it will be useful for the students.
Okay, yeah, let me explain further details about the IP1 and IP2. We have 2 courses in internship. One is IP1 at the end of second year, and IP2 for 5.5 months in the final year. That is 1 full semester plus extra 1 month. 4.5 months of a semester. Each semester is 4.5 months plus 1 more month, at 5.5 months is IP2. First semester IP2 and second semester IP2. The students are split into half-half. First half is sent in the first semester, second half is sent in the second semester to the companies. Now, what are the educational objectives in these 2 courses is very apt question that you asked. In the IP1, it's basically an exposure-oriented program, because for the first time a student is going to industry and trying to see the 4 walls of the industry. Otherwise, he's never been, because either he was busy in his school for completing his +2 and trying to be competitive examinations and trying to come to engineering. So therefore, he never had an opportunity to visit the industry and spend some time in the industry. This is the first time that he is going to industry. Therefore, we want him to get a very scientific exposure to the industrial problems. That is what is the idea that we want to do it. For that, we have a thorough checklist we give, right from the organization culture, organization structure, as well as the inventory problems and also the labor issues and the labor department, HR department, all the aspects of the industry are covered in that checklist. So all the questions which arise in anybody's mind when he enters into the department of that industry, we provide his checklist. That checklist acts as a textbook for him in terms of learning various things in the. Now, while doing that, while pursuing the checklist information, he has to use that as a platform or as a vehicle for exhibiting his own set of personality traits. For example, if he is a leader, he knows how to collect the information as fast as possible by using his leadership skills. And also in a team, suppose a teamwork is involved in that, so the teamwork is also evaluated through that process. And also there are seminars, there are quizzes, various evaluation components, which again tries to test all these personality traits only, not the extra knowledge which is given. But whereas when it comes to IP2, which is 5.5 months duration, is totally project based. Now what we do is, our faculty members who are already stationed in the companies, they try to work out for the next semester, they work out the projects. And there is what we call a project problem bank pro forma, we call it. So it is a very well planned exercise. The problem bank pro forma is that we send it to the faculty. Faculty 3 months in advance of the next semester, they try to sit with the various executives of the company, and the company will give them, each department will give them what is the project or what is the problem that they have in hand, to be able to distribute the students to do work and then get a solution for that. So like that he covers all the departments. He sends about 10-20 projects he collects for that, and that information is sent to the institute. He also collects information on what kind of student is required to work on that project, what background should he possess, and how long it will take for him to complete the project. So all these basic data also, and also what are the extra qualifications he has to have other than the coursework which he has done, or is there any specific courses in which he should get an A grade. For example, somebody who has to write a programming in Python, there is a course in Python which we teach here, that course in Python they should get an A grade. They should specify that. The company will say that okay, he should be very good at Python. That should be translated saying at least he should have an A grade in Python course. So similarly, what happens is when all this information comes, then the students are given, they are advertised to the students saying that these are the projects in this company and these are the facilities that they give, whether the stipend or out-of-pocket elements or accommodation, whatever they provide, all those facilities plus the project which is offered by the company are all advertised to the students, and seek the students' preferences for various companies. We may have 30-40 companies, each company they give a preference. On the basis of what requirements the companies have, we accordingly select the students and distribute and allot them to the companies. And he starts working on it. So initial 10 days will be orientation program. Now first 10 days will be orienting the organization. Next 1 week will be orienting him to the project which he is on hand. So therefore first 2-3 weeks will go in terms of orienting himself. Next 5 months he has to work on the specific project. He has to complete that project. For example, he can go to TCS and work on a project which is software development or a programming, or he can go to Infosys and again work on software development, or he can go to Tata Interactive Systems, in which they can go defense projects they work, or he can go to Department of Electronics and in the Ministry of Defense. They can also take up some projects. But wherever they go for these projects, wherever there is a confidentiality involved, the student has to give an undertaking, and he will only submit the fictitious data to the institute report and also copy of the report, whereas he submits the original copy of the report to the concerned organization itself, so that confidentiality is maintained and he cannot take it outside the company. So all these precautions are taken in trying to put them in the nationally relevant projects, nationally relevant exercises.
Professor Rao, again, your answers really, thrown a lot of new terms. Maybe most of the academia may not be practicing. Say you said that the IP2 is giving scientific exposure oriented program to the students, and similarly the IP is a course of a curriculum and which is running to 7.5 months, and you have a dedicated faculty member and they sit with the industry to create a problem bank, a pro forma, and which is also a new term thrown in academia. I hope the ICFI Tech is having the problem Bank Proforma for all the internship based courses. Now, in most of the academia or most of the university you visit, there will be always a term that the university has a incubation center where it supports the students and other stakeholders to create an incubation center, and then the idea of the students are being converted as a product. I have a small question, Professor Rao. We have Technology Innovation Center at ICFITech Hyderabad. What is the difference between the Technology Innovation Center and then the Incubation Center? Is there any difference, or they are one among the same?
Yeah, so this is basically you are asking a question about this incubation center. Now, incubation center is a part of entrepreneurship program. Now, let me tell you, entrepreneurship ability is one of the personality traits which you have to train in a student. And TSC goes in terms of training him as an entrepreneur. See, the entrepreneurship is not just one, it is somebody you think that he becomes entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship has to be a part of his own training over a period of 4 years. When he is 4 years, entrepreneurship also is an attitude, it's also a skill, and it's also an ability to deal with various people. All these things he has to gain while he is doing his engineering program in the 4 years. So some of these things which you said, the broad-based curriculum, internship programs, Technology Innovation Center, all these things go in terms of making him a proper entrepreneurial candidate. So he has all those attitudes, gets trained in the process. Now, you may ask me a question saying that is he going to be trained only as an entrepreneur or anything else? Actually, he is going to be trained as a full total personality. The personality involves, he is a leader, he can take decisions on his own, he does not depend on anybody, his self-confidence is very high, and also he has entrepreneurial abilities. So all these qualities put together, he can go and do the entrepreneurship. Now, entrepreneurship, there is a process in India. They found that in a startup companies, then in startup companies financing, and also you have entrepreneurial incubation centers and so on. So incubation center is as a concept is different from the Technology Innovation Center. Technology Innovation Center is one of the educational tools to equip the student for a entrepreneurship ability later. Now, whereas what you call this incubation center is one of the tools to make him an entrepreneur, to convert his ideas into real practical skills. The incubation center will help him to implement his idea, get some financing, and also try to start a project and become an entrepreneur. So that is the penultimate step for becoming an entrepreneur. Whereas the incubation center is only part of his training. Whereas this Technology Innovation Center is part of his training. He is only getting trained by himself. So to become an entrepreneur, that's what is the basic difference. But however, let me emphasize this point, saying that various reforms that we have undertaken in the institute here in the last 4 or 5 years, all these reforms will go and strengthen the individual student's ability to become an entrepreneur. He can think in the direction. You see, if you also notice, the one other institute which I would like to quote is the BITS Pilani. BITS Pilani students actually, most of them are entrepreneurs all over the world. They have started several companies. If you ask the director of BITS, he will tell you there are so many companies, so many entrepreneurs are there from the BITS. And many of my own students, including Vivek Pal of Wipro, was also a student of BITS. Samir Bhatia of Hotmail also was a student of BITS. So there are several examples like that you can think of. So many people were they came out as entrepreneurs. All that because of the entire collegial atmosphere we created in terms of the proper broad-based education and all these things which was possible in BITS Pilani. Therefore, large number of students become entrepreneurs. And here also, we would like to, if imitation is nothing wrong, this is not a crime, we would like to imitate similar processes here and then see that our students also becoming as great an entrepreneurs as the students of BITS, the erstwhile students of BITS. That's what we are trying to do.
Thanks, Professor Rao. Again, you have coined a term, collegial approach, and I am happy that ICFITech Hyderabad is also following collegial approach when the Technology Innovation Center and the Incubation Center are concerned. Now, again, whatever the answers or the clarification you are giving us, it's all very much interesting. So in the same line, I would like to ask on the national education policy. Now, the government of India says that the new education policy is derived or developed for making the student entrepreneur or maybe analytical thinker. So in that line, RB or ICFI Tech Hyderabad is offering any program which follows national education policy, or do you have any program which is a modular program where there are multiple entries and multiple exits? If so, what is the procedure to get into the program or apply for the program?
National Education Policy, as NEP, a recent NEP which was published by the Government of India, has brought in several aspects in educational systems itself, in the higher education especially. Now, some of them already ICFI Tech has been implementing ever since its inception, since 2002. For example, choice-based curriculum is a part of one of the national education policy's thrust area, which has been implemented here right from the beginning. As I was saying, that one of the basic approach to electives and all that is almost 33% of the curriculum is in the student's own hands. He can make his own career through selecting his own courses, his own program, his own approach. The second thing is also the NEP also emphasizes on the broad-based curriculum, which ICFI Tech again has been using it right from its inception since 2002. Then also the ICFI Tech also is trying to keep entrepreneurship in the end. Converting a student to an entrepreneur in the end is what is kept in mind. Therefore, accordingly, the entire curriculum is being designed in such a way that they become the entrepreneurs finally. It's not necessary that he has to become only entrepreneur, but what I am saying is it's not only entrepreneurship program, but the attitudes required for entrepreneur are also being trained in this program, are also being provided in this program. That's one thing. But however, now it's a misnomer to think that there can be a program only to deal with the national educational policy, NEP of this recent origin. It does not only say you put a program which allows this choice-based system it creates a broad-based structure, it creates entrepreneurship ability and all that, or multiple entry levels and multiple exit levels. It is, as an institution, as a philosophy, it has to continue with that. See, the entire educational process itself should be based on these conditions, like it should be a choice-based curriculum, it should be a broad-based program, it should be entrepreneurship-led sort of a thinking, and also the design. Curriculum should be designed according to the entrepreneurship needs and so on and so forth. But ICFI Tech has been, right from its inception, has been only emphasizing only on this aspect, that you design a system by which the student can make use of the advantages in the system, and he becomes an entrepreneur or a great scientist or a great engineer, or he can also become a great executive in the companies. So wherever he is there, he is a leader. He takes leadership role. If it is a corporate sector, he goes and takes a leadership role. If it is an entrepreneurship, he starts his own company much faster than anybody else could do. So because of the background that he possesses here. So, but however, we also recently introduced a program on BSc Data Analytics. That is the area in which currently there is a lot of fashionable talk about the data analytics today, and we also thought that we should also join the bandwagon of introducing a program, but without any loss of generality, by keeping all the features of the educational policy at ICFI Tech, like choice-based curriculum, credit system, and also the broad-based programs, entrepreneurship development, all these things kept in mind. We have also created a new program called BSc Data Analytics. Now this is a 3-year program. Now any feature that you talk about national education policy, all those features are available in this program. That you can directly talk about it. There is a multiple entry. That means a student can enter it every year. First year he can enter, finish the first year and go out and do a job and come back after some time. Similarly, second year he can enter with an advanced learning admission. He can be a BSc student, BSc dropout of another degree college. He can come and join we give a credit to him in terms of what all he has done in the other college, and we transfer the credits here and chart a new program. It can be less than 3 years for him. It can be 2 years or 2.5 years or 1.5 year or 2 years, whatever it is, depending on his own background. We can do that. So he can enter at 3 different levels: in the beginning of first year, in the beginning of second year, in the beginning of third year. Now, what is the idea of this? The idea is, if you look at any Western educational system, the idea is that a student becomes free and independent after he attains the age of 18. He does not depend on his parents in terms of financing his own education. He does, immediately after plus 2, he does some community college, some course, and then goes for a job, and then does the job, and after some job he comes back, and because he already accumulated some credits, and the remaining credits he goes to undergraduate college. He does an undergraduate program. Then again he goes for the job after the undergraduate program, again comes back and does the postgraduate program. Again he goes, it's like that, he goes back and forth to the industry, to his work position, as well as to the educational institution. So, and also they believe in education is a lifelong process. It's not only just 5 years you study and you end up it. That's the end of the educational process. No, education is a lifelong process. He can continuously keep doing it. So therefore, here he can, at the end of in the BSc Data Analytics program, he can enter in the first year, complete the first year course, in which 40% of the courses are devoted to imparting some skills for the industry, particularly the data analytics industry. So therefore, he can get some job, maybe job worth 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 rupees per month. He can get a salary and he earns some money. Then he does work for 2-3 years and comes back to the second year. He can come back to the second year. Now he can enter into the second year and he completes the courses second year. We give another 25% of the 25-30% of the aspects related to the industry. So therefore, 40 plus 20, 60% of the skills required for working in an industry are already completed by the end of the second year. Now again he can quit at the end of second year, go to the industry, work for it, because he already got 60% skill level being already imparted to him. So he can go to industry, work for a job and get a job, and again do the job for 2-3 years, again come back, do the third year, get his BSc. That is the model which is simplistically I put it, but otherwise a student can also do continuously 3 years and finish his BSc also, data analytics, and get into a job. And these days most of the computer industry is also taking the students after BSc, after the 3-year undergrad program, to their jobs. So therefore there are several jobs for this program, and therefore multiple entry I have discussed, and multiple exits also. At the end of first year he can exit, he will get a certificate in data analytics. At the end of second year he can exit, he will get a diploma in data analytics. At the end of third year, if he exits, he gets a BSc in data analytics. So these 3 years. Now what is the input for this degree? Now some people argued saying that, do you require physics and chemistry? We don't require physics and chemistry. But data analytics is basically a statistics, mathematics oriented discipline and computer science discipline, computer software oriented program. So therefore we decided that as an input we should have only any mathematics with any combination in plus 2 is okay, can get admitted here. Mathematics, economics and computer science, mathematics, statistics and computer science, mathematics, civics and politics, any combination, mathematics, economics and history, any combination. But mathematics is basically a compulsory subject, it has to be there. Once he has mathematics, any other combination is okay with us. So therefore data analytics program entry is possible, plus 2 with mathematics as the background. Now there are various other people, they are already pursuing their degree programs in BSc in various colleges in this country. There are lakhs and lakhs of students are pursuing degree. Can they also get into this program? Yes, they can. You see, they must have also done some mathematics courses in the first year or in the second year, whatever it is. And also what we do is we give a credit to whatever curriculum they have undergone in their program, and we exempt those courses from doing it here, and we create a new chart for him. For example, a 3-year chart may become 2.5 years for somebody who has done already 2 years of BSc or 1 year of BSc outside in another college. So you can do this. So therefore we try to treat him as an advanced standing student coming with an advanced standing. So then we give a credit to whatever he has done in his earlier program and give a credit to it and check out a new program chart for him, and accordingly we will proceed. Now That is one. Existing BSc population can come in. That is one. The second, that means either at the end of first year he can drop there and come here, and still he gets some credit for 2-3 courses, maybe 6-7 credits. 6-7 credits he need not do it. Similarly, a diploma holder, diploma in engineering, polytechnic holder, polytechnic diploma holders, for example, either he comes with a what you call mechanical engineering trade, or the electrical engineering or electronics or computer science, any of the engineering background, he can come back. Again, we do the same approach, that we take the courses which he has done, curriculum which he underwent, and give equal credit to here, and then we develop a new program chart for him, and accordingly can do. All this is a process of called what is the academic credit bank, which is coined in the new education policy. We are going to use the academic credit bank. We also keep, as soon as he completes some credits, we will put him in that bank. He can go out and come back again. So back and forth he can do it. So that is also an issue. Now, therefore, BScs can come in, diploma holders come in, +2 students with mathematics background can come in. Now, anybody who is working in the industry with a BTech qualification, because he is already outdated, in terms he has been only doing writing the traditional programming either in C or in terms of some other COBOL or Fortran or whatever it is he has been doing. Now, he wants to get a reorientate himself towards the data analytics. Even he can come in. We will also give him all the credits in terms of whatever he has done in his undergraduate degree, all the credits we give him, and we exempt those courses, and ultimately person working in the industry already has certain skills, some skill based courses also we can give an exemption. Ultimately he may do it in 6 months or 1 year, complete program. So the entire BSc requirement can be completed in 1 year maybe by him. So after finishing that he will get a BSc in data analytics. So he will get another degree. So all these possible inputs are possible in this program. So we tried all the basic concepts we tried and tested all the concepts in the new education policy into this. And I am sure they are workable, they are going to work very wonders with us. Yeah, this is, now the basic requirement is that each one of them have to go through our entrance examination, that is ATIT. Admission test for ICFI Tech is what is known as ATIT. Abbreviation is ATIT, and then this is conducted in April between 12th to 20th of this year, and also second time is conducted in June. Again, June 10th to 20th is the time in which we conduct this. The 2 times we are conducting this. Now let me tell you what is the 2 times conducting this test. Now this ATIT is conducted twice because we have 2 phases of admission. The first phase of admission and second phase of admission. In the first phase of admission, which is conducted for April 10th, 12th to 20th, is the test which is conducted. Now those students will be considered for the admission in the month of May. They can come and report themselves in the end of month. The selections will be done by April end. By April 25th or so, the admissions will be finalized and they will be communicated. They can come and admit themselves in the month of May, and therefore their classwork starts in the beginning of June. Now, the second phase is the ATIT examination takes place in the month of June 10th to 20th, and they can join in July. Now the people who join in the classwork starts in June, actually they go slow in terms of normally the normal pace is supposed to be 3 classes per week in a course. Now they will be doing 3 classes per week in a course. Now whereas the students who join in the June session, they will do 6 classes per week in a course. So therefore they do it at double speed, so that by the time the August end, both the people will reach the same level of teaching. So therefore they can join, they can be merged together in the month of. So therefore they graduate at the same time. This only phases in terms of admission only, but it is nothing to do with the graduation. Nor in terms of trying to, second semester onwards, anyway they will be doing the same semester, same courses, same, it will be only single batch, not 2 batches. And ATIT also is a compulsory for all of them. Any student who wants to enter in ICFI Tech, he has to go through ATIT, and on the basis of this course only we will give the admissions. We have a percentile score which we calculate after the score is obtained in the ATIT, and based on the percentile we give an admission to that. And it is conducted from 12th to 20th of April in the first phase. Now there there are three slots in a day. 12th to 20th is about 9 days. In each day there will be 3 slots. There will be, you can choose your slot, you can choose your day and come in. The only thing is that when you are coming 3 days before, you have to declare. Suppose if you want 12th of June, 12th of April, let's say, you have to communicate to us before 9th of April that you are going to, you want it on 12th of June in a particular morning, afternoon or evening session. You have to tell us. So that is the only thing which is required. Otherwise it's fine. Now then the other thing is that, now can you attend both the times? First edit in the first phase, edit in the second phase. Do you have to attend both? You have to attend only one. There are two clauses here. You pay the fees only for writing edit 1, that is first phase edit. Now if you get it and if you get an admission and then join, accept or reject, join the admission, then you don't have to attend the second at all. Now alternatively, suppose you finish your edit and in the first phase and you don't get an admission at all. You are not considered for admission because you don't stand up in the merit list. So therefore you can attend the second phase edit. You can improve upon your performance in the second edit by doing that, and you will not be charged anything extra. Whatever is the fees you pay, the application fees which you paid in the beginning, 750 rupees, that is the same thing for the second phase also. For example, you have been given an admission in the first phase and you did not accept that admission, then you have to pay second time again. So there are two kinds of improvements. You are a total failure, you want to now try another chance. That's okay, you get another chance. But you are already successful in getting some admission or the other, but still you want to, you have to pay the fees.
Now I have Professor Reddy with me. He is Director of ICFI Tech Hyderabad. Thanks for joining us. Now I have a few queries on behalf of the students. The first one is, what are all the programs, especially the EG programs we offer at ICFI Tech Hyderabad? Can you elaborate on that?
Thank you, Dr. Vadivel. At ICFI Tech, we offer the first degree programs, that is what we generally call it as an undergraduate programs, in civil engineering, mechatronics, computer science, data science and artificial intelligence, and electronics and communications engineering. And apart from this, we also offer the first degree programs in BSc Physics, BSc Mathematics, and a modular program, a BSc Data Analytics, that we have started from this year onwards. And for all these programs, the entrance test that is going to be conducted by ICFI Tech, that is called ATIT, is a compulsory. So those people who perform to the satisfaction, like in that particular examination, they will be what you call eligible for getting into any one of these streams, depending on their choice they indicate during the application when they are applying for the program.
Thanks, Professor Reddy, for your answer. Now you said that you have various BTech programs, say BTech in Computer Science and Engineering, BTech in Data Science and Artificial Intelligence, and you have Mechatronics, you have Civil Engineering. Can you highlight what are all the labs we have for these disciplines so that the students make their hand dirty and then practice themselves and try to solve the problems? So what are all the labs we have at ICFI Tech Hyderabad?
Okay. In each discipline or in each specialization, in the sense like if it is a civil engineering or a computer science or mechatronics or electronics and communication engineering, the students have the opportunity to choose their electives in the final year. These are all only the discipline electives. Generally, on an average, about 20 to 25 electives are there in the depository in each and every field of study, in the sense each particular discipline. So across there are 5 disciplines, so on an average about 20 to 25 electives in each specialization. So the student will have a freedom to choose. However, there could be some operational constraints. Suppose if very few people opt for one particular elective and it may not be operationally viable, so probably at that time we may not operate such kind of a subject. Otherwise, student is having a lot of freedom to choose. Apart from these electives, they also have the freedom to choose around another 6 to 7 humanities electives. So they also have to go through this. So this gives a fair amount of chance for the students to excel in their areas where they have interest or where they want to specialize or go for extra what you call mileage to get some more in-depth knowledge. So this is what the what you call electives are concerned.
We have workshops, and what are the practices in workshop? Because there may be a misconception that whatever the internship you are saying, it is same as what you do in workshop. Are they same? Are they different? And what do you really do, or what the students do in the workshop as a workshop practice?
Okay. There are two aspects to this. One is about our curriculum, but before going into the curriculum, I would say the student's background. Suppose the student joins engineering program, they will be coming with a +2 background. Nowadays, the +2 background students will rarely have a practical exposure or a lab-oriented exposure in their +2 program. So definitely the students should have a lab exposure or an experimental exposure, so that engineering is nothing but everything is experimental only. Okay, so to inculcate that kind of a ecosystem, the first year workshop is one of the starting point. So in the workshop, the students have to soil their hands, in the sense there will be different segments. One is, say for example, carpentry. Suppose if somebody is having an interest to make a model, say if they are going to be either civil engineering or mechanical engineering, they wanted to develop a prototype model and then show it. So they should know what exactly a carpentry means, or how they make a joint, or how they weld it. So these are the type of skills they should possess, so that their subsequent what you call years, whatever the lab work they have, they will not have any difficulty in following it. So in the workshop, what they will have is carpentry, tinsmithy, foundry, house wiring, and lathe machines, that is computer numerically controlled lathe machines. And also apart from all this, there is also a production technology what you call workshop segment will also be there. So they will have overall the idea of the trades, different trades in the in the workshop field. They will be exposed. And apart from this, each and every engineering student, based on their discipline, they will have their specified laboratories. So those laboratories, say for example, if you take a civil engineering student, okay, they will have a surveying, they will have a transportation engineering, they will have a soil mechanics, and they will have a fluid mechanics, they will have hydraulics and hydraulic machinery, and they will have a concrete technology lab. So basically these are the things which are definitely required for any student who is going to get graduated in civil engineering, because these will be helpful for him or for her to know what exactly the basic laboratory or basic testing facilities an engineer should possess when he or she takes up a field job or for a quality control environment. And at the same time, there is one advantage. Mostly the students will get an exposure when some of our faculty members take up some consultancy work like a material testing. When they do this consultancy work, the students will also have the opportunity to get themselves engaged in conducting the laboratory work. So this is one advantage the students are also having. From a traditional system, and at this moment there are somewhat latest technologies also. So the traditional systems, we still maintain that, but at the same time we give the students an exposure with the latest trends. For example, I will cover with civil engineering and mechanical engineering, so that you can see the difference. Say for example, in civil engineering, the surveying, the age-old traditional methods like a chain surveying, plane table surveying, and what you call a normal dumpy level, a theodolite, okay, that is on one side. We still keep them intact. A student will have the exposure of all these particular instruments, but there is what you call the latest one, like a total station, which is a comprehensive one, and which is a state of the art, and the student will have the what you call exposure to get acclimatized with that particular instruments, and then they know how to handle that instrument and make use of that instrument for the purpose of what you call the topology or surveying or any purpose. Similarly, what you call even for the soil mechanics, yes, the normal tests like soil testing, that is a very simple what you call way of handling the things, to a complex, a triaxial test. So we have the from scratch to the latest, because the student should not feel that they do not have the idea of what exactly the recent trends in that particular area. Well, they may not be able to do number of experiments, but they will have an idea what is what, so that tomorrow when they go to a research organization, they can develop on their own based on the background what we provide them. Similarly, in mechanical engineering, yes, there are different labs again. So something like a production technology, hydraulics and hydraulic machinery, fluid mechanics, refrigeration and air conditioning, heat and mass transfer lab. And apart from all this, we have introduced two new things in the sense. One is 3D printing, which is now one of the thrust areas. And for your information, like because of this COVID, like we are going with that what your face mask. There was a heavy demand when the COVID actually was surfaced in India, and there are a lot of what you call government organizations which have actually asked for whoever is having the 3D printing facility, please help the government in making the model of masks and other paraphernalia. So this is one of the major thrust area, and I am proud to say we are having what you call from mechanical engineering one unit, and electronics and communication engineering there is one unit of 3D printing, and with all what you call established labs. So that is one of the area. So we are giving the traditional exposure as well as the latest one. Similarly, from the electronics point of view, electronics and communication, we have a microprocessor lab and microcontroller lab, and we have digital signal processing and digital image processing labs, and we have RF and microwave lab, and communication systems lab, and measurement techniques lab, and analog electronics lab, as well as digital electronics lab. See, on an average, I would say in every specialization, roughly about 8 to 9 lab what you call courses the students will go through in this whole 4-year program. So they will have enough what you call exposure and awareness and knowledge in the practical fields. And apart from this, there are some of the what you call latest softwares will also be used in the labs for a simulation purpose or for their mathematical analysis purpose. This is what the labs are.
Thanks, Professor Reddy. Nice to know that you have a 3D printing lab and you have other laboratories which is having advanced instruments or equipments. Now, it is said that the students are free to work anywhere in the campus, because most of the universities provide facilities such that not only the students use the laboratory facilities and they can sit anywhere and then work. So in this line, I would like to ask you, whether the ICFI Tech campus is Wi-Fi enabled, and if it is Wi-Fi enabled, how is it happening? I mean, what about the laptops? Are you having the laptops? Are we giving the laptops to them? What is that happening? Can you elaborate?
What I would like to emphasize here is, first of all, the total campus is Wi-Fi enabled. Okay, and we do provide to the students laptop as well as textbooks whenever he or she joins a particular program, and the laptop will be there throughout his or her stay, and the textbooks will be given in the beginning of every semester. Now the idea here is, in the good old days, yes, there used to be a computing lab and like a huge space and hundreds of systems, and the students used to come and then sit in that particular lab and then do it. But now that kind of a concept is slowly what you call taking a back seat. One is the space constraint. The second thing is, when a teacher is teaching in a classroom, when every student is equipped with a laptop, so it is a mixed blend of teaching. See, the teacher can give a concept, but at the same time, without going into a physical, what you call a laboratory, in the class itself, everybody can open a laptop, and then immediately then and there, the teacher can put a syntax and then show exactly how a program is going to be executed. That will have a more impact compared to leaving a homework or some kind of an assignment in the lab session where a lab assistant is going to assist. But this will have a more what you call fruitful approach, because the students will have more ample chance to get the best out of the teacher in a classroom along with the what you call practical examples.
Thanks for saying that there is a practice of blended learning at ICFI Tech Hyderabad. You said that there is a laptop given to each and every student. And now, what is happening in the classroom, real classroom? How are they using these laptops or the Wi-Fi campus inside the classroom, regular classroom? And what are all the teaching, learning aids, okay, you have in the classroom, physical classrooms?
We are having about 30 classrooms which are fully equipped with latest digital boards, and they are all having the facility to capture whatever the teacher is teaching in the classroom, and it can be transmitted to the students who are actually sitting at a far off place for whatever may be the reason. So that means that at no point of time the student is missing the lessons, and the teacher can always recall from his or from her repository whatever the assignments or the problems or the questions they wanted to pose it to the students from the data bank. So there is absolutely no problem to transmit the latest what you call developments which are there in the like internet. So they can pull it and then they can show it in the classroom instantaneously. So that kind of an arrangement is there with us in about 30 classrooms. Before, I think last year, about during the month of March, I think we faced this particular problem, like the COVID has actually what we call surfaced. Then before that itself, the ICFI Tech was actually developed a learning management system using the Moodle. So before that itself, we tried to implement the examinations through Moodle, and then we could succeed. Yes, definitely there could be any technology what you call initiation, there will be some technical snags, but apart from that we could succeed in conducting the examinations. And most of the internal evaluations we used to depend on Moodle. Okay. Then we extended this particular system to what you call, we scaled it up. Like initially we what you call tested for 60 members for one section. Then gradually we have increased the number of people who can take the exam what you call at a time from 100, like step by step, 150, 200, 250. Now we got stabilized as we can take 300 students at a time the examination by using our Moodle. Well, from our side there may not be a technical snag, but from the people who are taking the examination, students, because they may be at a remote place or there could be some internet what you call connectivity problem, but we still take what we call listen to the concerns of the students. Whenever there is a genuine problem from the student side, we always take that concern and then we give the make-up examination, and but that number is very, very small. So we could manage ourselves to conduct the exams through online by using the Moodle. This is one aspect of it. And as far as class delivery is concerned, yes, the lessons are given something like a pre-recorded, and the pre-recorded versions will be uploaded onto the LMS, and the students will have an access, and before coming to the scheduled slot of the class, they will go through those video lectures or loaded lecture lessons, and then they will come back and they will ask the questions, or it will be having an interactive sessions.
Thanks Professor Rao and thanks Professor Reddy for giving the information on the programs offered at ICFI Tech Hyderabad and the educational process at ICFI Tech Hyderabad. So Professor Rao has highlighted on the educational process, the broad-based curriculum, internship 1, internship 2, and he has also highlighted that the student should be self-reliable and he should be having the leadership quality. Professor Reddy has highlighted various infrastructures at ICFI Tech Hyderabad, starting from the programs offered, the labs available, and the facility at classrooms, and teaching learning aids used in the classrooms. So on behalf of the students, I thank both of you for spending your valuable time and providing all the clarifications which will be benefited to the students, so that they can choose ICFI Tech as for their BTech program. Thank you very much, sir, and thank you very much, sir.